Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nerds of the Multiverse channel. This is the Marvel Zombies spoiler review. So, if you haven't seen it yet, I'll give you the brief warning. Come back to this and watch it later. I actually really enjoyed this show. Thought it was a blast. So, what I'm going to start off doing, I'm going to give brief plot synopsises for each episode. That way, everybody knows what was going on, and I'll talk about this what I liked and disliked from the episode. So, episode 1, it takes place 5 years after the outbreak from What If Marvel Zombies, that episode. So 5 years later, we have Kate Bishop, we have Riri Williams and Kamala Khan and Friday, and they're all teamed up. They're scavenging New York. Basically, they're trying to survive. And all of a sudden, they see a Quinjet fly down from the sky. It crashes, so they go and investigate. So inside, there is a SHIELD agent, dead, or presumed dead. Riri uses some technology. They find this little device that's inside them. They get it out, and basically, at that moment, zombie Hawkeye attacks them. Pretty sick. I enjoyed this scene. I thought it was cool seeing Hawkeye. Cool. Kate fights back. They get out of there, no problem. And basically, what they're doing, they're traveling to a SHIELD base, which is located in Ohio, which is pretty cool because it sets up later because Red Guardian, Yelena, and their whole family from like Black Widow, they lived in Ohio, so they're going to the SHIELD base in Ohio, but it's their house, so that's pretty sick. And they're going there to find out basically what to do with the device. Because they realize that this device has hope to send a signal to the Nova Corps and basically call for help in the midst of the zombie apocalypse. So they travel to the SHIELD base, and that's where the device gets activated. But along the way, on their way there, that's when they go through this shortcut, and you find Icarus, who we haven't seen since the Eternals, which not a big Eternals fan, but it's cool seeing him again. And he's fighting against a zombified Captain Marvel.
That was cool.
Honestly, it was pretty cool. It's one of the better parts of the entire episode because it was some action. It wasn't just story. Episode 1, I understand. Episode 1 is the slowest episode of the 4. From then on, it picks up. So their fight creates a lot of destruction, and it's in this fight because Kate Bishop gets a trick arrow from Hawkeye, one that he shot at her, and she takes this trick arrow. She goes to shoot it at Captain Marvel, and it's like a confetti arrow. And then Kate Bishop literally gets nuked off of the planet Earth, which was the first death of the show. Oh, sorry, second if you count the zombie pilot. But big character, first death of the show, insane. I was not ready for it. But so that was crazy. Basically, Kamala gets mad. Kamala was the main character of this show, which I did not know going into it. I don't hate it. I like Iman Vellani. I think she's really good as the character. There's some other characters I wish got a little bit more shine, but I thought her being the main character wasn't a bad thing. But basically, Riri and Friday, Riri tells Friday to get Kamala out of there. So Kamala gets saved. Riri makes a sacrifice, and basically, Riri stays behind to fight off the zombies. She's presumed dead. And basically, Kamala then she's running away, and she gets rescued from all this because she's getting chased. And she gets rescued by the best character in the entire show, and that is Blade Knight. Best character of the entire show. Blade Knight is phenomenal, bro. And I love the way that they had him because when they were writing for Blade, because obviously we still have not got the live action Blade film. But when they were writing for him, they're like, listen, we don't want to like cross any lines of what's going to be happening in the movie and what's going to happen with the live action. So like, how can we write a story that's not going to step on any toes? Well, they made him a Fist of Khonshu, which was pretty cool. And the way they explained it was Mark Spector, Moon Knight, he died in the apocalypse. And Khonshu, he needed a new avatar. So he goes to Blade. And Blade Knight was created. And phenomenal. He has some of the best scenes in the entire show. So he finds Kamala, and basically they head to the SHIELD base in Ohio, and that's where they meet Melina Vostokov, they meet Red Guardian, they meet Yelena. And they're all staying at this base. It's their house, but it's still a base, but it's surrounded by a bunch of zombies, and they're all mind controlled through science, and they are protecting the base. They were waiting to see the results from this episode, to see like what viewership was, because if this did well, they're talking about a season 2. This show majorly exceeded expectations. It blew up, and season 2 is going to happen. So, episode 1, that's episode 1 in a nutshell. It had cool moments, not the best episode. Honestly, out of the 4, it's the worst episode. But episode 2 is where things start to pick up. Pretty sick. Actually go back in time, because we pick up where Shang-Chi and Katie are. Aquafina. Basically, they're in San Francisco, and the zombie outbreak is happening. Like the Pym lab where Hank Pym and all that stuff, like that's all the zombies are getting grown and shrunk and everything. They're basically taking over San Francisco. So we have Shang-Chi, we have Katie, we have Jimmy Woo, Agent Jimmy Woo, and there's basically, they're all there when the outbreak happens. So after the outbreak happens, Shang-Chi actually gets bit during this, and he's going to be zombified. His dad shows up with the 10 rings, and so he's helping fight. And basically, when Shang-Chi gets bit, Wenwu gives him all the rings. So Shang-Chi's arm, up till about here, was turning into a zombie, but the rings stopped him from turning into a zombie. Basically, their group escapes, they leave San Francisco, and then they now have a survival group. And so this group, 5 years later, they're basically on the road, and they're using the 10 rings to help protect themselves. They're fighting with them. They're basically just getting food, what you would normally do in a zombie apocalypse. They have cows. Skrulls show up on these bikes and try to steal their cows from them. They're listening to Journey. It's such a cool moment. It's funny. But basically, their group ends up going to this place. It's called the City on the Sea. And Red Guardian and that group is there because Melina Vostokov did sacrifice herself at the end. And they go to this fortress, this safe haven, and it's converted from a prison. So this City on the Sea is actually the Raft, which is the prison that like Spider-Man puts all of his villains into, all the high security villains. Red Hulk got put there at the end of Brave New World with the leader. So they're in the Raft, and it goes underwater, submerges underwater. So the Raft is now repurposed for survivors. It's no longer a prison. So they're all going here to escape the zombie apocalypse. They think, oh, well, we're submerged in water, we'll be good. So throughout this, Shang-Chi's zombified arm is revealed as they're getting ready to enter into this city, and it causes tensions between the people who are already there in their group because they think he's a zombie. So basically, the survivors and the leaders are worried that he's going to infect people. It's not the case. The leader of this place is Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo is in charge with John Walker, the U.S. agent. He is like his second-hand man. They're in charge of this place. It's kind of cool. So they're in control of the city, and he's cautious about the survivors, but he allows them after they talk a little bit, and they give him like stuff that they brought to pay to get in, basically. So the survivors learn that the seas, basically, they submerge in. But what they come to find out pretty soon, the survivors learn that the seas are no longer safe from zombies because the Atlanteans have been infected and they are now zombies. And that is where Namor himself shows up. And I'm not even kidding you, dude. I think out of all of the zombies in this show, he's the scariest. He is scary. So he shows up. His presence is terrifying. The zombie threat isn't just on land, it's in the sea. And basically, this sets up the City on the Sea as even more of a vulnerable safe haven, since it floats in the water and is now within reach of Namor and all of the hordes of zombies. Namor comes in, he attacks, a lot of people die. He basically chops up John Walker with one swift movement. In order for a lot of the survivors who are there, so like Red Guardian's group, Jimmy Woo, Shang-Chi, and all them, in order for them to get away, Yelena sacrifices herself. She stays behind. And Red Guardian, so he witnessed the death of his wife in the first one. So his daughter dies in the second one. So it's sad. It's so sad. I will say, too, we didn't touch on this, but when the Red Guardian team group is leaving the base in Ohio, that is when the scene with Blade shows up, when Zombie Ghost happens, because basically Okoye is the second in command to the Scarlet Witch. Her and all of the hordes of zombies, so we have Zombie Captain America, Zombie Hawkeye, we have Zombie Abomination, all of them show up to this base and they're trying to infiltrate it. Zombie Cap is ridiculously OP. He does die. Zombie Ghost fights Blade Knight in that scene, and he goes to work. He slices and dices her, and it's in the trailer. It's one of the best scenes in the entire show. It's so cool. So episode 2 got a lot better. Like, there's not a lot of like filler. It's mainly like, okay, there's a purpose. They get to their purpose, and then all the action happens, and Namor's sick. So episode 3. The episode opens with a flashback. Basically, it goes back to like the end, because we see Zombie Thanos in What If. And he doesn't have all the stones yet, but he's trying to get all the Infinity Stones. It goes, though, and we're on Wakanda. And we see Spider-Man, we see Black Panther, and we see the dismembered head of Scott Lang, who has like the case around him, and Doctor Strange's cape. And they're all in Wakanda, and they're expecting it to be safe. However, Wakanda has fallen, and they discover that zombified Thanos is there, and he's wielding the Infinity Gauntlet. So they got to stop him. So, also in this battle, later in the battle, Rocket and Groot make a cameo with Thor. They basically recreate the Infinity War entrance, except this time it does not go how it went in the movie. They become quickly overwhelmed. Rocket and Groot die. Thor gets knocked out and defeated, basically. It sets up later in this episode for Thor. So, basically, T'Challa realizes, he's like, listen, we got to stop Thanos at all costs, because if not, he's literally going to, he has the Infinity Gauntlet and he's raising the dead, all this other stuff. So T'Challa, he doesn't say a single word in this entire episode. Spider-Man narrates it. The whole beginning scene, T'Challa never says a word. It's just all animated, and it's because Chadwick Boseman was supposed to narrate it, but he never got to. And it makes it so much more impactful because he never says a word.
Yeah.
But he's so heroic because basically he knows that Thanos is going to take over. So there's this huge reactor that's open with all this vibranium and stuff, and he basically tackles Thanos into this pit, and there's a massive explosion, and T'Challa sacrifices himself to save the world, and he gets rid of Thanos, and it buys time for the others. We have the survivors, we have Kamala, we have Blade Knight, Valkyrie, etc., and along with Zemo and other allied characters, they move because they're going to New Asgard. They're looking for a ship, basically, like a plane, something to get them to space. So they go to New Asgard, hoping to find refuge and allies. And what's crazy there is we know going into the show that Scarlet Witch is the main villain. We know this. She's the Queen of the Dead. What's crazy is when they're at New Asgard, they discover that Wanda is there. She looks normal, though. She's not zombified. And her influence runs a lot deeper than they thought. Basically, everybody there, all the warriors, all the people who like showed up in this party of the survivors, they're all that are eating food. Wanda warps reality. And all of the food that they're eating, it's not actually food. It's the corpses of zombies. So they all get infected. Jimmy Woo dies. Thor's sitting there the entire time. He's not doing a thing. He's like, I'm not having it with anybody. So Wanda stops Valkyrie, indicating that she's no longer stronger and she's no longer in control. And so as the group flees, Wanda finds them and she drags them back down to Earth. Like she's pulling their ship down. Kind of like Vader in the Kenobi series. It looks like that. But meanwhile, Thor arrives. And we get the battle of a lifetime. We have Thor versus the Scarlet Witch. In the confrontation, Thor helps hold off Wanda and the zombie threat long enough for the survivors to escape, but he remains behind. And importantly, as Thor stays to fight, she's like, you can't stay behind. You're literally the last Avenger. And he looks at her and he's like, well, I guess you're the Avenger now. So Kamala Khan becomes an Avenger. The survivors manage to leave Earth. They leave the atmosphere, and they're going to go try to transmit that message to the Nova Corps. And they hope that this is their chance for rescue or aid. But when they got there, their response was not what they expected. Because the Nova Corps, they're already there. They're keeping everybody on Earth from leaving. And they inform them, they're like, Earth has been it's quarantined. You cannot leave. And they were like, we give you 10 seconds to go back down to Earth, or we're going to blow you out of the sky. The entire show, they're trying to get the Nova Corps for help. And they're not having it. So they have no allies outside of this contaminated Earth. And that sets up episode 4. Episode 4, the heroes' ship has been shot down by the Nova Corps. They shot them out of the sky. But it's not destroyed. And they are rescued by the sorcerers of Kamertage. Pretty sick. So at Kamertage, they learn that because Wanda's been talking the entire time. She's like, I can't defeat him without your help. She's trying to get Kamala to be on her side. She's like, I need you. And we don't know why. Well, it's because the Infinity Hulk is acting as a kind of anchor. Hulk basically absorbed the power of the Infinity Stones. They're being contained within him. Infinity Hulk is insane. And the sorcerers warn that Wanda has basically, she's gotten this huge zombie army aimed at breaking that containment and seizing the stone's power for herself. That's the whole reason she's doing this. She wants the power of the Infinity Stones. Wanda sends a major wave of the undead against the Hulk. First, zombies, including Abomination. We have the Atlantean zombies, the giant zombies, the Asgardian zombies, and Hulk resists all of them. He's insane. Wanda personally tries to reach Hulk to siphon off of his power, and she initially she gets repelled by the 10 rings because everybody shows up. It's kind of like a portal scene. We have Spider-Man, Shang-Chi, a few other people show up. It's sick. So Shang-Chi and them are all there protecting. Blade Knight's still here. And meanwhile, the heroes, they enter from this portal, and it's like a defensive barrier against Wanda from touching the Hulk. They form this huge barrier. So various zombified heroes are unleashed against them. We have zombie Hank Pym, zombie Janet Van Dyne, who they started this whole thing in the first place from the Quantum Realm disease. We have zombie Red Guardian, zombie Elena, zombie Hope, zombie Jimmy Woo. Basically anybody who we saw earlier as a hero, they're all back as zombies. But what's crazy is we find out who won between Wanda and Thor, because Thor is a zombie. And they're all attacking all the heroes. So in all the chaos, many of the defenders fall. Basically almost everybody dies. Spider-Man is gone. Shang-Chi is gone. Blade Knight gets killed. Almost everybody dies, which it's a zombie. It makes sense.
Right.
So basically, Blade, Shang-Chi, we have Valkyrie, Spider-Man. They all have their moments in this fight. Like Spider-Man ripping off the people's heads with the webs. Blade Knight has even more iconic moments. Zombie Thor, he plays a major role in breaking through the protections and basically reaching the Hulk. So Hulk fights back, eventually delivering a crushing blow, and he smashes Thor's head. It's crazy. While the heroes are distracted, though, Wanda reaches the Hulk, and she begins draining off his power, using Kamala and her emotional bond as basically the bridge. So Wanda she gets to the Hulk, she gets to the power of the Infinity Stones. And as the situation becomes dire and more defenders are lost, she confronts Wanda. She resists, but Wanda tries to persuade her that this is the only way to save everything, to remake the world, and to resurrect all of those who are lost. So with all of her other options basically gone, seeing that her friends have died, Kamala agrees to help Wanda. And she allows Wanda to use her as the key to access the Hulk's power. And then there's an enormous explosion of infinity energy, and it radiates across the Earth. It basically, imagine the Hex in WandaVision, but it's over the entire Earth, not just a town. Kamala wakes up in her bedroom at home, thinking that the world has been restored already. Her mom calls her, and all of her friends show up. Kate and Riri show up, alive, and everything just seems normal. They go like a boba shop or something, and they're just hanging out. But when they're sitting there, reality begins to glitch, and she sees a flicker of zombie faces, and the visuals, they're just breaking. Reality is not normal. The real Riri Williams shows up, battling zombies, telling Kamala that what she's seeing is basically she's seeing the Hex, and it's all an illusion. And then Kamala realizes that she's trapped in an illusion, and the real world is still overrun by the undead. And the series ends on Kamala just looking terrified, and the illusion is collapsing around her. That is basically all 4 episodes in 20 minutes. It was so good. My top 3 characters of the entire show. Obviously, I said earlier who my favorite was. My favorite was Blade Knight. Every scene he's in, I guess the term people use now, dude, I'm 24. I don't talk like this, but the term that people use, they said that he was aura farming. The entire show is that, if that's what that means. He's a beast. Second favorite character was Zombie Scarlet Witch. She was phenomenal. I was happy that Elizabeth Olsen came back. What's crazy though, because she filmed this like 4 years ago, she filmed it in her own house because it might have been like the end of COVID. She doesn't remember what the show's even about. People were asking her questions at LA Con this weekend. She's like, I have no idea. I haven't seen it. My third favorite character was Zombie Namor. He's scary, bro.
Interesting.
He is scary. Like, dude, out of everybody in that show, anytime he's on the screen, you're like, yeah, I feel uncomfortable because he's just terrifying. So that's my top 3 characters. If you guys want to see my ranking of the top 5 fights in Marvel Zombies, make sure to check out my YouTube short or my TikTok because it's on there. I gave my top 5 for the fights. But with all of that being said, I have not told this to anybody yet. This is my ranking for Marvel Zombies out of 10. I am giving Marvel Zombies a 9 out of 10. I love that show. The only thing I think could be a little bit better was the pacing in episode 1. I would recommend it to anybody. I don't know what the critics were thinking because I thought it was great. Marvel animation, for the most part, has done phenomenal. X-Men 97, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and now What If and Marvel Zombies. I really enjoy it.